Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to round 5 of the women's series of the Zwift Grand Prix. Today we're racing the Team Elimination Omnium. Now, we've seen variations of this format in round 2 of the Zwift Grand Prix and the individual format in the Continental Qualifiers, and now we are back with it again in round 5, but with some changes.
That's right, Nathan. We have 3 races that will be held back to back out here today, where after each race, the field will be reduced all the way from race 1 down to race 3. Over these races, there will be points awarded for the finish position of the riders, as well as bonus sprint points. And these points will add up to form a team total for all of our squads racing out here today.
Now, maybe you didn't catch the last few weeks of the Zwift Grand Prix and you're wondering what exactly it is. Well, if you've been tuning in week after week, this new series from Zwift takes on 6 rounds of regular season racing before culminating in the grand final of March of 2023. Only the top 5 teams will get through to the finals, though, so there's still a lot on the line in these last 2 rounds. Now, each week of racing features a brand new format we've never seen before in cycling, and this all has the aim of bringing the excitement of esports to this new cycling discipline.
Honestly, you can expect the racing to be more strategic, more gamified, more specialized, and more exciting than ever. We've got 24 of the world's best Swift teams, and they are raring to go. They actually helped to design these new formats themselves, which is pretty unique.
Now, each round features men's racing one week, and as you'll see this week, the women's racing the next week. And with a little extra focus we're having, you're going to get to know the teams. You're going to get to know the individual riders. You're going to get to know those head to head battles better than ever. Every rider also needs to contribute the points scored each week to accumulate over the season to try and get their teams into the grand final.
And of course, there's plenty for you all to do at home. So come on over and join us at zwift.com/racing to see what is on offer. Whether you're looking to log into your first race or you're heading over to an event where you're a regular, dropping on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's right, Dave. Now let's get right down into round 5 of the Zwift Grand Prix and check out what we have coming up for you today.
We're going to jump right into it here. This is race 1, and they are not playing around. It's 13.9 kilometers, but 246 meters of climbing packed into that is going to turn this race in Yorkshire into an absolute Donnybrook. This is the infamous 2019 UCI World Championship course. Again, no joke at all. And really, my heart goes out to these riders is that bonus sprint that happens midway through the race, in some ways even more significant, as the points are massive, but they don't go that deep. 60 down to 10, but only the top 6 walk away with anything. You'd expect this to split up out there. At least in my mind, it's going to be hard to hold on to the front group. So a challenging course where only 30 riders get to punch their ticket into race number 2. That only adds to the intrigue and drama. Our director sportives are going to be working overtime out here trying to crack the code today.
And those 30 riders are going to be moving their way on over to race number 2. It's the 2015 UCI Worlds course in Richmond in the forward direction. The power-ups are going to be the burrito and the invisibility. Now, the number of riders progressing at each sprint is going to be 3. As you can see there, 1, 2, 3, and 4 total sprints that they have on offer to try and grab those 12 spots to progress. Monument Avenue, though, has a lot of points up for grabs. So going for those first 3 spots is going to be a bigger reward for the riders. 60, 58, and 56 points for first, second, and third at Monument Avenue. Broad Street there, as you can see, another 3 riders getting through, 54, 52, 50 points. And then 3 riders at Libby Hill. That one's going to be hotly contested and maybe starting to split the pack a lot. And then for the finish line, the final 3 riders grabbing 42, 40 points, and 30 points. And then it's going to go down, though, to 30th place there for 2 points. as the riders that can still score for their team but not get through for the 12. That's race number 2 out on 2015 UCI Worlds Richmond.
Last stop on this tour of world championship courses will be Innsbruck, and this will be the most severe of all. Just take a look at this course. The power-ups won't be as significant as the amount of lactic acid that's pooling in your legs by the time you hit the bottom of this climb. It'll be all in. Really, it's not 12.9K. It's the last 5K where things will be sorted out by the lucky 12. Say that with a question mark because this is going to be brutal. The 480 meters of climbing. When this one is done and dusted, we'll know who our champions are here in round 5 of the Zwift Grand Prix.
Now that we looked at the courses, let's see what teams will be taking them on. Heading things up, it's going to be Aeonian, followed up by Beast Mode, presented by Rose in the black and orange. Coalition Alpha showing up, and then Movistar E Team. The Roca Corba Collective, followed up by Saurus No Pins in the pink and white. Coming right out of the community, it's going to be the Socks for Watts teams. Be on the watch out for them, followed up by Team Swedish Zwifters. In the red, white, and blue, actually, it's the Toyota Cryo RDT, Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024. And last but definitely not least on the roster today, it is going to be Wahoo Local.
Let's take a look at the table as it stands after 4 weeks of very competitive racing. Wahoo Lacole starting to go clear. It was 25 points that they picked up with their outright win last week as they now have a 13-point advantage over the mighty Aeonian team. And they're going to look to roar, no doubt about it today, as they're going to start running out of real estate to take the overall season title here in the Grand Prix, but they're still within striking distance. So let's see how much wind is in their sails. And also got to give credit to a spirited Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024, both in real life and with us here on Zwift. That team has really caught a second win, and that's nice to see as they sit up in third, but they're going to have to fight to hold on to that virtual podium spot in the overall, as they've got Movistar E Team and Socks for Watts right there in 4th and 5th, with Saurus No Pins knocking on that door for a top 5 spot. And I'm expecting big things from them today in a format, the Team Elimination Omnium, that really suits them. We'll then look to 7th place now, where it's 24 points for Team Swedish Swifters. They're looking over their shoulder and seeing Toyota Cryo sitting in 8th. Toyota Cryo is another team that's going to look, you can see that they can jump over Swedish Swifters with a great ride today, or have Beast Mode come over the top of them as the German squad, Beast Mode, presented by Rose, on 20 points. That's another cluster there for 7th, 8th, and 9th that's going to be interesting to watch. Coalition Alpha sitting in 10th right now with 5 points, and then Roca Corba Collective is sitting in 11th. So you can see that really the groupings happening now within the racing heading into our competitive Team Omnium format, and Aeonian is going to look to really make their mark out here. Wahoo Lacole, top of the table as we head into what's going to be fantastic racing today.
Let's take a look at the teams riding out here today in this round number 5. Aeonian leading things up with Ariel Verharen, Mana Lee Keller. It's going to be Vicky Whitelaw, our current reigning world champion, Los Adagist, and Polona Itkin. This is a star-studded team. Be on the watch out for them to be able to take down points and spots all day long. I wouldn't be surprised if most of them make it through all the way to the final round.
All right, let's jump right in and take a look at the Beast Mode presented by Rose Squad here. Team that doesn't have a weak link. And I look here and see some riders that should make it into the final as well, Nathan. Alicia Hogg is one of them. Maria Marb, another. Linda Sarmiento on the squad, bringing some real force, is Pia Kumar. And then Mel Bruni is a rider who's starting to make her name in esports. That's Beast Mode presented by Rose, the team in black that will be omnipresent today.
Next up, it's going to be 4 riders coming in. 1 rider short on the roster today, but Coalition Alpha still plenty of strength there because they are led up by none other than Scary Mary Wilkinson, as she's known in the community. And whenever it goes uphill, be fearful of the power coming through those pedals. Then it's going to be Stephanie Sidlick, that Katharina Machner, and Agatha Fleece. A very strong team, even though short one rider, still a force to be reckoned with out there in this round of the Zwift Grand Prix. That's Coalition Alpha today.
All right, let's jump right in with the Movistar roster. The mighty, mighty Haley Simmons is back. She's an impact racer, no question about it. You got to love this team and the way they race, and a big part of that is the spirit of Mika Soderstrom, along with Marlene Bjarhid, another rider who seems to always be there when it matters. Sonia Cecile, that's a new name to watch, along with Jessica Edqvist. This team in blue seems to always be in the mix, so watch out for Movistar E-Team out there today.
And now we have the Roca Corba Collective showing up out today on course. It's going to be led up by Charlene Berry, and then Kat Ridgway, the climber, and one of their stronger riders that will be watching out for today is going to be Courtney Webb for sure. Elrika Hamzen Pretorius and Tennille Otto. This team is looking to try and make their mark out here today in this round number 5. Be on the watch out for Roca Corba Collective to be making some spicy moves to try and make their way up the leaderboard.
All right, let's jump right in and take a look at who Sarah Snowpins is bringing to the race today. Well, here is a rider who's really made her name, the monster herself, coming back and ready to hit hard, I have a feeling, will be Liz Van Houweling today. Absolutely keep 2 eyes on her. Eleanor Weissman on the team with the American Jen Rio, Emily Nyquist, and Georgietta Unguranu making up this squad. Nathan, this is a team that always makes an impact, and I'm going to be watching for them today.
And then moving on from the white and pink there, it's going to be another strong team coming out of the community. Socks for Watts with the Aero Unicorns on the jersey. Always got to love their spirit and culture they bring. They're going to be led up by none other than Ann Nevin. Next up, it's going to be Kat Haynes. Alexi Snover is here as well. Be on the watch out for her kick and sprint. It's going to be Goxie Paul, the 4th rider. And then last but definitely not least, another very strong sprinter known in the community as Miss 14 watts per kilogram, Katie Loker. Watch out for her, especially in the first 2 rounds, to be making big points for Socks for Watts.
All right, now we'll go to the omnipresent Team Swedish Zwifters squad. They are bringing the A-team, no doubt about it, as Anna Svardström will lead the Swedes into battle here. Anna Embring, also an impact racer, is Gabriella Norden, Sarah London, and Nellie Larson. This team has been putting on a clinic over the last 4 years in how to race esports. Let's see how they do with this format. This is definitely for the thinking and strong racer out here, Nate. That's Team Swedish Zwifters.
Yeah, Team Swedish Swift is super consistent, and so is Toyota Cryo RDT. I would match those 2 teams very well up against each other, and it's going to be Charlotte Kolkloff that's going to be one of their strongest riders. Linda Klein definitely playing some support for the team out there today. It's going to be Louise Gamps. Louise, definitely a rider that will be going maybe on some attacks to try and watch for some breakaways from her. Lucy Harris is out there, as well as their very strong climber, Natalie Stevenson. Be on the watch out for them to set up Natalie to make it through, as well as Charlotte Kolkloff for this team to that final round. We'll see how they can set them up for that battle for Toyota Cryo RDT, coming at you in the red, white, and blue.
To be successful, it's critical that your team has role players, and certainly one of those will be the mighty KK. Kristen Kolchinski is always there, ready to go on duty. Emily Ehrlich, the rider out of Detroit, another American here on this mostly American squad, not entirely, but Emily is really starting to get her esports chops, and it's been fun to watch. Elena Wu Yan, fresh off of Zwift Academy. Let's see what kind of force she brings to things. I'll certainly be expecting Nathan, quite a bit. Laura Quinones is a rider that we're looking forward to seeing make her debut out here along with the talented Marion Lawson. This is a squad. We've talked about it, Nathan. They're rejuvenated in real life. They've been winning at the Velodrome, and in esports, they've been really stepping up their game. So good luck today to Virginia Blue Ridge 2024.
Yeah, that VBR team, watch out for them. Talk about a squad that has developed the roster. And here's another one, though, Dave. Wahoo Lacole, a very strong leadership as well as new blood on this team have brought them right to the top. And that's going to be led up by none other than their most aggressive rider. And I would say one of the most aggressive riders across the Zwift Grand Prix so far for this season, Lindsay Cassie. Be on the watch out for her to be just throwing haymakers left and right. She throws caution to the wind. And then there's the always super consistent Lizzie Brooke, looking for those breakaway efforts and the consistency that she has out there on course. Zoe Langham bringing a big kick to each and every one of those lines. It's going to be Laura Simnick as well as Catherine Ferrer, who's also a new startup in the world of esports and has been showing us that she's got some power when it comes to those sprints to the line. That's going to be our current series leaders. Wahoo Lacole coming in last, but definitely not least. Let's take a look at how things are playing out as we head out onto the course, though. We took a look at who the riders are going to be, but who is going to take things on when we hit this initial climb? Dave, right from the get-go out on this Yorkshire course, we have this little bit of a grinding climb that comes at the athletes, and somebody could take a little bit of a risk early on if they wanted to try and get away and maybe be able to grab some early points if they can cause a breakaway. But it's very difficult here, Dave, because the roll over the top of this, the speeds get extremely high. You got to kind of get and egg some other athletes on to come with you.
When I look at this course, Nathan, my biggest concern if I were in this race would be a split happening in the first 3K. And it could be lights out, to tell you the truth, as if there's enough momentum, especially because it's not only a severe climb in the first 2 kilometers, but then some pretty crazy descending as well. And you'll watch the gameplay, and all of these tactics are going to be very interesting. Now, we've seen traditionally in esports racing insanely aggressive starts. This is the new era of esports, and you'll see it's much more calculated. These riders racing with their brains, their legs, and some solid director sportives. I mean, look at Los Aragis, the reigning world champion, as we're loading up for our next world championships. I am so stoked for this February. Here's your first attack. It looks like, Nathan, I'll throw it to you with Luis Gamps. No surprise there, as the Gamps family, notorious breakaway riders, and she's on the move.
100%. Michael Gamps and Louise Gamps might be the most well-known in the world of esports for making these kinds of moves. They absolutely love to go on the attack. Now, Dave, she went at a pretty good time. She's got to really build up a solid amount of distance to really make any sense out of this at all. And if there's no chase, if they stayed at that 3 watts per kilogram or so that they were doing, maybe this would benefit her. 6 watts per kilogram, Dave, matching 3.8 at the front. We did see Lindsay Cassie for a moment there. Maybe go to the front, a little bit of DS in her ear saying, Wahoo Lacole, step it up a little bit. We don't want to let that get too far away. Over the top, Dave, I really think that she needs 20 seconds or more, and even that might get shut down. We'll see how this plays out for her. I have a feeling, Dave, on this course, because so many points are up for grabs, but it's all about later on. All the pressure points come on the Queen of the Mountain and the finish line. Big points up for grabs and the 30 that get through. So I think there's a lot of riders sitting and saying, look, that can go up the road. I'm not that worried about the 60 points. I'm worried about the 29 places. There's a couple of riders in here thinking, I want to be involved with that first place. I want to be involved where Luis is going here. But there's a lot that are thinking security, safety. And Luis here, she's throwing caution to the wind. She's off the front, though. Solid 20 seconds, Dave. This might actually be something.
It's interesting to me that nobody else went with her here, as she's definitely now all in. I have to think that this is more a bid, Nathan, for the 60 points that she'd collect there at the Queen of the Mountain. 60, 50, down to 10 for the top 6 there. Very different than the points at the finish where it's incremental by 1 point margins there from 60 all the way down. Well, actually, in this case, we have 55 riders taking this start. Everybody else, though, I mean, you can see some huge engines up there, like on Movistar here, the Swedish rider Edvist. They're all right now going to play the long game. No doubt about it, Nathan. This format is fantastic. It really is. And your sprinters are really looking to get through in the top 30 at this point. Not going to go bananas, I would say. Just try to get into the next race where you can pick up a nice, clean 60 points if you've got the fastest legs in this race. But here we go. Movistar now starting to motivate here with Bjarne.
Yeah, Bjarne there went at a quick little 6 watts per kilogram, and that was a punch over the top to get the speeds rolling. And then, as you can see, that allowed the little bit of a chase and the punch through. That is going to gain them a second or two on Gamst. Now, watch how quickly the time comes down from Gamst. Now, she pushes up to 6 watts per kilogram. Now, the question is whether or not some of these riders take the momentum from the back of the pack and push it on through the front, or are they all going to continue to just watch each other and not really work together too much? A lot of them may be thinking, Dave, the reality of the Pop Bank Hill and how incredibly steep it is. I think that gets into like 17, 18, might even be over 20% negative gradients. That kind of speed, as you can see, immediately 8 seconds just from that downhill gone. Pop Bank on top of that. Luis might only be holding on to 5 seconds after the speed's there. She's got to continue to work right here, Dave. Get some really good time between her and the rest of the pack at this point if she's going to hold on to anything going into the Queen of the Mountain. Because even after the Pop Bank descent, there's another descent before the Queen of the Mountain. She has really put a lot of work up against herself here to try and break away from this kind of a pack on those kind of descents.
A real roll of the dice from Cryo, to tell you the truth, because, I mean, at this point now, Nathan, it's even hard to imagine the gap down to 21.5 seconds. There's so much horsepower and motivation. I'm cheering for it, to tell you the truth. Again, this is her MO, modus operandi for Louise Gamst. And if she can pick up the 60 points, you would score that, clearly on the plus side for her team. But this could also fall short. And it speaks to jeopardy, risk, and reward, and what makes the Grand Prix so awesome. I mean, it really has been incredible to watch all the different formats that we've been racing in out here this season. This one is right down the middle. It's certainly, it's strategic, but it's going to require strong racers. And Nathan, I'll throw it back to you as Gamst is actually padding her lead a little bit right now. But I think that, Nathan, the racers have absolutely loved having these new formats to race with. So here we go. Can Louise Gamst pick up the 60 points? I guess, you know what? I put my money on her to do it right now, but it's going to take everything she's got.
Yeah, she's got to put more of a buffer, and I'm loving that she's ramping it up. It looks like you can see the motivation, Dave, in the watts per kilogram even. Did you see, like, as the time came down really quickly and maybe even a little bit of a rest that she needed at that moment, but she was like, okay, now I do see that it's starting to go up again. What kind of power do I need to put out to get this time to go up again? She's got to back out to 23 seconds. It's not quite up to that 30 that she was at. Now she's really got to ramp that speed up as much as she possibly can and even kick right now to get as quickly as she can into that 57 kilometers per hour. Maybe super tuck, maybe not even, you might not even see a super tuck actually here as she continues to press on. I would love to see some big jumps from her though in just a second to ramp that speed up because as you can see at 23 seconds, Dave, that's going to be cut in half very quickly. She's going to head on over to the fields here in a second. It'll be a steady climb. There's the super tuck, Dave. This is a good move. 23 seconds will be hard to hold on to as that pack is going to come flying, not just down, but also they're going to be hungry after those 60 points here in just a moment. But big move by Gamst. Now, Dave, from a team point, though, tactic, I think that this is her move. I think that this is the role that she plays here, and I love what she's doing on that side of things because I think the rest of the team do have other cards to play, whereas this is Luis's main ace in the hole.
Yeah, you have to look at that as well, Nathan. That's a fantastic point, that this benefits all the other riders on Cryo out here. You can feel the pace picking up now, though. Riders getting tailed off the back of this group. The throttle is opening up, and it is full-on panic mode right now. Even Movistar getting caught out here a little bit behind the 8 ball. That's going to be Mika Soderstrom that you can see in cam. She looks relatively comfortable in real life there as she motors away. Well, she's got a huge, huge amount of talent, and Soderstrom right back to the front. Regulators mount up. That was impressive. So everything okay now, but it's going to be spicy, no doubt about it. You can see Wahoo Lacole's got most of their team sitting up in the front of this group. Okay, we started with 13.9K, 8K to go. Nathan, it's pretty much either just slamming it downhill or right back uphill on Potbank here to get to those 60 points that are waiting. So you can just see her up the road now, Nathan. It's going down quickly. It looks like Gamst is taking on a little bit of water right now.
9.3 seconds, Dave, is the difference that you see. She's right up the road here. This is going to be touch and go. I think this downhill is just going to be too much. There's not enough uphill gradient and not enough landscape, I think, at this point for her to really gain too many more seconds. If she gives a really good kick right now, she might get out to 15, but the reality, Dave, I think is coming into the climb, she's only going to have probably somewhere between 5 and 10 seconds at the most, or even be caught at the bottom, which would be the worst case scenario. If she can come in with a couple of seconds and fade climb, maybe hang on for a good finish over the top of the Queen of the Mountain. We'll have to wait and see in just a moment here. At 11 seconds, though, Dave, this pack is about to come screaming down into the first point selection moments in this race in just about a K or so.
We had a fantastic chat with Tepa Lorio about the state of esports racing and how aggressive it's become, and how, it used to be breakaways almost never made it, and now racing's become much more spirited, and you see the gamblers taking their chances and coming away with a win more and more often. And even when it doesn't work, you have to take your cap off to riders like Louise Gamst. She's again starting to add to that advantage. She remains a big part of the conversation in this first race of 3 out here today. This one has 2 points opportunities, one coming up pretty quickly, just a couple K away. Couple kilometers away at this point will be the bonus points waiting at the Queen of the Mountain. 60 points for the first rider, 50, 40, 30, 20, and 10 in that order for the top 6. Then we'll go to the finish line. Nathan, it is going to be chaotic. I mean, absolutely bananas here in just a moment. So take a deep breath. What I love about seeing Polona Itkin in cam is knowing that she's got a cheering squad just on the other side of that wall, Nathan, ready to erupt if she can pick up some points out here for Aeonian. They have got it going on there. Back to you, Nathan. Louise Gamst with 11 seconds in hand. It doesn't feel like it's enough.
We'll see here. The Hungry Wolves are about to come here. They are about to hit this bottom of this climb, and it's going to be all hands on deck looking for 60 points. Look at the charge of the pack here, Dave. The speed that they carry in. There's going to be so much carry through. Lizzie Brooke immediately to the front. Here comes Walla Cole. The attacks are on. They're looking to hunt her down, and Dave, that's getting shut down so quickly. And who's that going to the front? Coming from beast mode, it's Pia Cooper onto the attack immediately. 11 watts per kilogram from bottom to top. Dave, this almost never happens. Can she take the roll through speed and go all the way? And Pia looks fully committed. I have not seen her ride this aggressively in almost the whole year, Dave. What a move by Beast Mode.
The Empire strikes back here with Pia Kummer. Right now, you can see Aeonian's got the entire squad, including the Olympian Verhaeren, Area Verhaeren, moving to the front. It's monster time out here as they're okay, Nathan. This is great racing going on. There's the world champ. Los Adegui seems to be getting better week after week, and she's making the selection. Remembering, I've talked about points. 30 is a critical number out here. Only 30 riders advance into the next race. That's approximately half the field. A lot of them right now are fighting to try to make it into race 2, and we've still got over 5 kilometers of racing remaining. Verhaeren to the front. Oh, only the strong survive out here in Yorkshire.
Two-tier climb is what this is. We've gotten over the first bump of the climb, but the second one's coming. It's going to flatten just a little bit to the 6% and then kicks one more time to the Queen of the Mountain banner. It's going to be Polona Inkin up and over the top here. Look at the effort coming from her. 6.8 watts per kilogram. Now it's going to be Zoe Langham over the top. WLC Verhaeren is still there, but Langham at 10 watts per kilogram. The final kick looking to come to the line, but Verhaeren here, she's looking to challenge here the qualifier for the Worlds. Both of these ladies, can they do it to the line? It looks like it's going to be Langham, Verhaeren, Kolchinski trying to come over the top for VBR, and it looks like maybe Verhaeren just edging her out. There are new queens of the mountain here, Dave, because Zoe Langham and Ariel Verhaeren just challenged the monster that is Kristen Kolchinski for those points to the line. Los Adagis, the reigning world champion, right behind her. Wilkinson's there, Scary Mary, Polona Itkin. Dave, this is the heavy hitters of esports. This is amazing to see as we get into the mainstay of our season. We are really seeing the talent start to shine.
For all of our friends at Wahoo Lacole Nation, all they heard, Nathan, was blah, 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 Zoe mode. And when Zoe kicked in, it was over. You got to love it. Zoe Langham is back and in full effect. Kolchinski closing. We're going to go to the back-end API, Nathan, because I'm not sure that she didn't get second there. We'll see. But certainly that was obviously either second or third. Has got to give it up for the Swiss Army knife herself, Ariel Verhaeren. And credit where it's due, Ariel racing up at altitude there in outside of Salt Lake City, Utah. So she's been exceptional. But here we go, Nathan. This is the story right now as these two are going to come back into the fold as we're resetting at the front. It is quite a list of names, star-studded cast of characters here. There is Polona Itkin. We talked about the Aeonian rider, Aeonian with 2 in this group, but they're the points. Nathan, let's take a look at how that scored. You were right. Verhaeren did hold on for second in the 50 to go with it.
It looks like Langham solid 60 points there. Polona Itkin holding on for 10. Wilkinson for 20 there now as we head toward the line. 3.6K to go. There was a little bit of a split in the pack. I thought maybe they'd start working together, but the speed's just too high with the roll through. Aeonian currently holding on to 90 points. Wahoo Lacole with that 60 points. Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024. For 40, it's going to be Coalition Alpha with 20 points there coming in as well. Now Larson to the front, looks like, for Team Swedish Swifters as they all start to coalesce toward this next little bit of a bump of a climb. 2% gradient. Now the attack is on, though. It looks like we've got a move coming from Mary Wilkinson. It looks like she's taking over at the front, maybe just trying to protect her position. That's not an attack at 3.4. Just steady at the front to be able to cover whoever she needs to.
If Mary Wilkinson would do a 23 and me, Nathan, I think a very small percentage that might come back mountain goat. She climbs better than any other rider that really, I would say, pure climber. And she's proven that in real life as well in the United Kingdom. So Mary Wilkinson here in this group. That certainly is not 55. Only 30 are advancing. That's the story right now. We're talking about 2 different battles going on. The points that are being collected, they will transfer through race after race. All of the riders on each team add their points together in one group. So you've seen those points right now. Aeonian doing a great job. But what was really, really important, and what we saw from the men last week who raced this format, Nathan, was advancing the maximum number of riders, especially into that group of 12 racing in Innsbruck in the third and final race here is critical if you want to win outright here today in the overall. So the points are all well and good, but right now making sure that you can move, if you can move 5 riders into the group of 30, that's incredible. I don't know if any team will do that. Aeonian, though, is certainly looking like they might. Nathan, I'm going to throw it back to you as we're at 2.5K to go, and it looks to me like Cryogen is in with quite a plan today to mix it up.
Now, behind this pack that we're looking at here, Dave, there is a chase group with, I believe, 24th through 32nd. Mika Soderstrom's back there. Monali Keller is back there. Courtney Webb, Goxie Paul, Marlene, Alicia Haag, M. Nyquist, I think, is back there as well, Dave. We've got some big names that are in a group behind here that are going to miss out on 2 spots. The top 30 are the only ones that go through. So, Dave, at this point, the chase group behind, these riders are thinking about not letting a sprinter get back. There's a little bit of a bump on the finish, and then it's a drag race to the finish line, and they don't want any more danger because at this point, everyone in this pack gets through and scores points. I have a feeling maybe Toyota Crowder DT with Linda Klein there's thinking, I might not have a kick up against some of these other riders. They might even let me go. Let's not allow that 11, 12 seconds to come back from those riders that are off the back at this point, because you don't want to be caught out for one or two of those spots that are not going through.
Wow, what a fascinating format, Nathan, because I'm going to guess that if we took a look at the 6 riders that scored at the Queen of the Mountain bonus sprint, that we're going to see 4 of them will also score in the top 6 at the finish line here. It's very, very similar. It's a steep climb to the line, and I wouldn't expect too many changes in the top 10, to tell you the truth. I mean, Zoe Langham is potent. What a talent she is, and she is back. It's been a while since we've seen Zoe on her A game at this level for many, many reasons. But she has always had the talent, and now that everything is clicking again for her, she's going to be tough to beat. Kristen Kolchinski doing what Kristen Kolchinski does. I mean, she's been one of the most consistent esports riders, men or women, in the sport's history, and she is not giving up a step. But one of the most impressive things about Kolchinski to me, Nathan, is as the sport has advanced, she's continued to advance right along with it and remained in the vanguard. That's incredible, actually, and certainly to her credit. Watch out for her in the finish for her team. And she's got, let's see how many riders Virginia Blue Ridge still has here, because the whole Aeonian team is still in this group, aren't they?
Yeah, and now we have the 565 meters to the line here as it's the final kick. London, 8.5 watts per kilogram. Larson there as well. This is the setup here. Lois now making her way to the front. This one's a tough one to set up for because you're not sure exactly who is going to go when with the bump, whether or not you're going to try and get away on that sharp gradient. Now it levels out to 2%. Klein goes to the front. It's usually just a lead out at this point with only 352 meters to go, but the speed over the top of that bump, not always super high. Now comes the kick coming from London. It looks like it's just a race of attrition perhaps between these front two. Will London be able to stay away at 9 watts per kilogram? Here comes the kick from Ehrlich though. Ehrlich now trying to come through. Is it going to be Virginia's Blue Ridge? Is it going to be Wahoo Go with Lindsay Cassie? One last kick maybe coming from Los, the world champion. Is she going to take it down? It looks like Adagist stomps her domination on this first race and takes it down. Dave heading into world champions. Chips here just 2 months out. It looks like Los is now showing up with some form.
Yeah, maybe the first back-to-back esports world champion. Those preparations are well underway. I think I was pretty close, Nathan, as it looked like Kolchinski did get up, so that was pretty good for Virginia Blue Ridge as well. They'll get a couple riders in. It's not top 6 anymore, as the points go down from 60, 1 point per place. So you can see, though, that the team's putting 3 riders in the top 10, and here we go. Los taking the 60 points for the win. That's big for Emily Ehrlich. We were talking about how she's really coming into her own in esports, and there was a great example of that. Lindsay Cassie doing what Lindsay Cassie does for Wahoo Lacole, as she'll take 58 points for third. Kolchinski back, so she scores 2 times, a third and a fourth. That's a lot of points that KK brings back to the team. It's going to be Sarah London there for Swedish Swifters in 5th with 56 points. Ariel Verhaeren, the Olympian, racing with us. She scores twice as well. Great job by Ariel in 6th. It's going to be Wilkinson for 7th, Lizzie Brook for 8th, Klein for 9th, Embring for 10th. But we'll look deeper because, Nathan, obviously top 30 are critical here. Back to you.
100%. There's Larson coming on through for Team Swedish Swifters. It's going to be Semnek as well for Wahoo Lacole. Katie Loker makes it over the top of the climb and finds herself in a good spot for a sprint for 13th place for 48 points. It's going to be Vicky Whitewall for Ionian in 14th. Catherine Furr in 15th for WLC. Toyota Crowder T comes on through with Harris in 16th. It's Lawson in 17th. Charlotte Colclough 18th. Liz Van Howling coming through for 42 points in 19th. And Polona Icken rounding out your top 20 as it stands right now.
Well, this is a critical page here, as you really want to be seeing your name if you hadn't heard it called already. I feel like we're at school. Zoe Langham ends up with 60 at that sprint win, hangs on for 21st, so getting the job done for Wahoo Lacole. It's going to be Ridgway, Cecile, Keller, Svardstrom, Bjarri, Soderstrom, Paul, Hogg, and Otto These are the women that will advance into race number 2. So, Nathan, I'll throw it back to you for the top 10 rider points.
Look at Ariel Verhaeren coming on through for Ionian with 105 points. And you're talking about the way she has shifted into a completely different kind of athlete, coming from an Olympic level BMX rider to now climbing with the best, 105 points, steady on the day. Zoe Langham coming through with 100. It's going to be Kristen Kolchinski, as you were saying, Dave. The consistency, I think, is what she's focused on there with both this finish and the climb over the Queen of the Mountain. Los Adigis, the world champion, in fourth. It's going to be Mary Wilkinson scoring a total of 74 there for Coalition Alpha. Ehrlich, Dave, loving the development coming from VBR 2024. Absolutely awesome to see. And that 59 points. Lindsay Cassie, London, Lizzie Brooke, and it's going to be Klein rounding out to your top 10 currently for the rider points.
All right. So, Nathan, that's what we're talking about. This new style of racing in the Grand Prix has been really, really exciting to watch. And it's these battles that are going on so many different fronts out there, because not only are you trying to collect points, but getting your sprinters through. Because I guess if we look forward now, this is a very unique opportunity, as we'll start watching the points becoming smaller after each sprint. But 3 riders will pick up points and qualify to move into the third race here, which is huge, being represented in those 12. It sounds like team points are what we're going to have a chance to talk about here next.
Yeah, let's take a look at those team points as we head into race number 2. This is what we're going to be looking at for how things stand before we head into the Richmond 2015 UCI Worlds. Aeonian with 330. It's going to be Wahoo Lacole currently at 306. Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024 at 254 in third right now. Team Swedish Swifters 193. Total Priority T 173. Sox for Watson 6th. Movistar in 7th. A very tight race there between 6th, 7th, and 8th right now. And then Coalition Alpha, Saris, No Pins, and Roca Cobra Collective. That's your top 11 as it stands. Aeonian with a dominating performance. And we saw that come over the top of the Queen of the Mountain, the way that they had set up their riders to maybe not go completely. I mean, Ardia Verhaeren definitely led things out. Polona was there as well, but we saw a lot of consistency with the grouping of Aeonian, with their timing over the top of that Queen of the Mountain in Yorkshire. I think that they really knew that climb. They knew how to take it on to get the most riders in the top 5 to 10 to grab those points. Wahoo Cole responding well. Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024, Dave, with where they stand right now, when we looked at the who's riding today in the rosters, what really stood out to me was how that team is a reset of 2024 into esports. I've watched the development of that team and the pickup of talent and the pickup of riders and the way that those riders have developed into esports riders, and seeing Emily Ehrlich taking that second place and watching the consistency of Kolchinski and mentoring them along. I absolutely love what we're seeing from 2024, especially with their resurgence in the second half of the season, sitting in the top podiums in a podium spot right now. As in earlier in the season, they weren't quite there, right? And all of a sudden, now we're seeing the surgence of them in the back end of the Zwift Grand Prix. I'm absolutely loving how now we're seeing the commitment from that team and how they're able to really throw down with the likes of Wahoo Lacole and Aeonian in this last couple of rounds right here.
Credit where credit is due. Not many riders can do what Emily Ehrlich has done, which is go. Emily is a legitimate top 5 sprinter on a good day when she's racing in America at any of the criteriums here in the United States. And that's a very, very high level with the racers that we have here. But very few racers are able to, in real life, take that talent and transfer it into esports, and she's done that now. That's no longer is she doing it or a work in progress. Today's sprint in the finale on the World Championship course from 2019, that proves that. So I would hope that her confidence has doubled or even logarithmically increased since when she started esports racing. What I do want to focus on, Nathan, is how competitive this league is. And if you look at it right now, Aeonian, who has a small lead over Wahoo Lacole after the first of 3 races today, if they can hold on, and let's assume that Wahoo Lacole holds on for second, which they may or may not. There's a lot of things that I'm assuming here. But if Aeonian wins today and takes those points with the reimagined point structure, which is this is where the brilliance of that point structure comes in, it would come down to which team beats the other in the final race of the Zwift Grand Prix to take the championship. The point margin would be small enough then that unless they both finished outside of the top 7 or 8, which is unimaginable, although anything can happen out here, but I certainly wouldn't see that. This very likely, the Grand Prix, I'm predicting, comes down to the very final sprint of the season. With that being said, they have gone to the headquarters and they said, let's launch this next race. And the riders have just been told, Nathan, that they're about 30 seconds from start. Let's take a quick look at what race 2 is going to be all about, Nathan.
Race number 2 started with 30 riders. It's going to be a sprint for 3 spots at the Monument Avenue, Broad Street Sprint, and the 23rd and Libby Hill. The first 2 are going to be more flatter, all out to the line type sprints. Looking to set up your big power sprinters for those. And then later on in the race, to get through to the next race, you're going to have to grab points for 48th, 46, 44, 42, 40, and 38 for the finish. As you can see there, only 12 riders getting through, and you have to score the top 3 in these spots on course to get through. The question is, Dave, how do you play your cards? What riders go for which ones? Do you risk it for later on the race if you're more of a punchy climber? Do you let the pure sprinters take it early on with the confidence you can bring to the line? With only 3 spots, Dave, that's a big risk amongst such a high-powered field.
My feeling, Nathan, to answer that question is hesitate and you are lost. They have entered the launch code. It has been approved and it's time to go. They have hit out here for race number 2. Nathan, I'm going to say get after it. No doubt about it. I have a feeling, as you can see, Liz Van Houweling here. I don't know that Liz is completely recovered, to tell you the truth, the way that she raced in race 1 from some illness. I don't think we're seeing Liz Van Houweling at 100%, to tell you the truth, Nathan. Look at this, though. It's going to be spicy early. Back to you, Nathan. They're going for it.
Yeah, it looks like, is that going to be Katie Loker trying to go across, perhaps? And Movistar now responding as well, it looks like. Liz Van Houweling being very attentive. There it is. Lindsay Cassie off the front. Kolkloff is there. Loker not letting anybody play any games. They're not going to play the sit around and wait for 2024 to do their thing at the back end of this. Instead, WLC is taking it right to the front of this race. Kolkloff follows it. Loker knows the train to get on, and she is on this and ready to pounce when it comes time, but Vaharin goes to the front. Aeonian playing it cool, didn't respond immediately, and now just rolls on to the front and sees, look, we've got the control here. Ariel Vaharin shuts it right on down for Aeonian, right back. Grupo Compacto, but I would not be surprised if you see a roll through from WLC as they take a lot of speed from the back, maybe to the front for another attack. I'm not expecting this to just stay calm. For 3 spots, Dave, at Monument Avenue, I have a feeling we're going to see that again and again.
And the huge advantage as well, Nathan, of the added rest that you get. So the 3 riders that take the 60, 59, and 58 points, they also get to go to the bench, grab some sugar and a little bit of drink and cool down and get ready for the 3rd race. If you can get 3 riders into that final 12, you have done an incredible job and put your team in amazing shape here. I have a feeling, Nathan, a rider like Liz Van Houweling, she's going to go all in for this one. I mean, she's got the heart, no doubt about it. Let's see what she can pull off here for the Sarah's team. We've talked a lot about Aeonian, who come in as our points leaders, Wahoo Lacole right there, and then Virginia Blue Ridge 2024. But some of these other teams are going to be looking to make a mark out here, like the squad we're highlighting now with Alicia Hawk. This is Beast Mode presented by Rose. Always a team that can be a threat. You just never know when they're going to show up. This is going to be an interesting first sprint, Nathan.
It really is. And Dave, I think with the isolation of Sarah Snowpins at this point with Liz Van Houweling, I really think that it's in her best interest to ride the wheels be as smart as she possibly can and pounce exactly at the moment that is most opportunistic. She needs to really find that place within this pack that will provide the best moment for her. She's got one of the best kicks in the entirety of this pack. If she can get this early sprint, Dave, as you said, she'll have a lot more time to rest up for the monster climb that's ahead of them. But if she has to waste a ton of matches in this race to be involved later on for one of those places without any teammates to chase anything down or to work with, it really puts her in a vulnerable position. I think, Liz, like you were saying, she's going to be looking for one of these first sprints to try and take this down.
Looked like Catherine Furr was being coached by a Sith Lord there. As very, very cold in Switzerland right now as well. This is going to be Emily Ehrlich, our breakthrough star of the day, as Emily racing her heart out right now. Nathan, it's a much smaller group here. This first sprint is going to be brutal because my concern would be a counterattack. As you said very astutely, there's a little bit of a soft spot that comes after this first sprint where riders who maybe play their cards right, we might see something bananas happen out here. You never know with the way that the racing's been going. But we are locked and loaded now. 4 sprints happen out here. First one, there you go. It started now, Nathan. The first hit out.
11.3 watts per kilogram. That's not a little bit of a peppering of the field. That's a full, I'm all in to make a break. Interesting enough, Lizzie Brooke throws down an invisibility power-up as well as her teammate, Zoe Langham. Nothing but orange numbers popping. WLC are looking to put 3 in an immediate break. They've got 2 seconds, Dave. Lindsay Cassie actually has a full second on her teammate Langham at this point. Simnick is now sitting in, it looks like. She's not going to be following any wheels. She's not going to be allowing any wheels onto her to try and pull this back. She's going to be sitting in because now it's going to be Verhaeren, Langham, Brooke, and Cassie. Aonian has stuck himself right in the middle of a 3-rider WLC sprint, maybe a heads up, and Verhaeren can sit on this perhaps, but they might start countering over the top over and over again to try and break her rather than just allow her to sit on and sprint them in the end. They want to get all 3 through right now.
It's the complete commitment to this move. I mean, good on Verhaeren for being able to cover, and she'll get up there. They won't take the top 3 spots, but they're going to take 2 of the 3. This is an incredible moment in this season. Now, Nathan, this is the biggest moment that we have seen. Wahoo Cole in full effect right now. This is absolutely mental because, Nathan, they will qualify most likely 2, maybe even 3 riders to go into the final, and they're not done. This is a dramatic turn of events. So right now, this has got to have Aonian. Even though Verhaeren has done her best to get up in this group, this is a shocking esports moment. In the timeline of esports, this goes down with the BL13 move a couple years ago.
Yeah, 100%. This does. Wahoo Cole showing up here and really making the moves, and they get the breakaway here at this point. Lindsay Cassie now ramping things up. Artie Verhaeren here, sitting in his best. She pops again. She pops the ghost. She disappears on them, but they know what's going on here. Verhaeren trying to come up over the top here. Langham's going to be the lead out there for Verhaeren as Verhaeren looks to have the kick. 10 watts per kilogram. He's going to go right on through. First is Langham. Verhaeren for second. Brooke, and then Cassie's going to have to settle for the 4th across the line. 60, 58, and 56. Now Lindsay Cassie goes to 1 watts per kilogram because she knows the pack is going to come screaming. But 15 seconds, Dave, what do you do with that? Because the pack might settle down. Does Cassie continue on? There's a spot up the road.
Yes, 7.7K in. So the Monument Sprint was the first that we just saw. Yeah, that's a really tough place for Lindsay Cassie to be in. First off, give her a gold medal. Even though she doesn't transfer into the final yet, she still might, and she was a huge part of the success for her team. So credit where credit is due. That was exceptional. Now, that Monument Sprint just happened. Next one is going to be Broad Street. That's 7. So we are working down there on the odometer. You can see 9.2K. That's to the finish line. But Broad Street, Nathan, is only, I mean, it's 2.5K, excuse me, 3.4K later. So they've really only got about 3K or so until that sprint. Can she do it? Yes.
Yeah. I think she can. I think she can with 15 seconds here, Dave, but she's really got to get committed to this. Well, yeah, for a moment there, that was touch and go. And luckily, Dave, Liz was. I don't think that they were in contact with each other. I did see.
She wasn't
think
sure.
some
Right.
time distance between the two for a moment there. It might have just been a comms thing. It might have just been, hey, she didn't see anything come through as to whether or not she'd made it through. So I don't think that Blizzy was trying to do anything, that would be improper there as part of the competition.
Well,
Maybe didn't know that she had qualified through, so we'll leave that there. And I do think that there was a gap between the two. I don't think she was doing any work for Cassie at that point, hopefully. But Cassie here now off the front, 18 seconds it looks like. I think she can hold on to this pretty easily, and there might only be 2 spots unless a team wants to put work in. But Dave, then you're just working to set up another team perhaps. They're just settling for, the reality is there's 1 less spot available to move through, and there's only 52 points up the road for the second place, really.
If you're in this race, Wahoo Lacole is having their cake. They're eating it too, and they're eating yours right now. Because, to be honest, I mean, Lindsay Cassie showing how talent is talent here, and the game is playing behind her. She's got so much respect from this field that they're not going to waste their energy trying to bring her back. So she's going to really double down on that initial move for Wahoo Lacole, and they're going to pick up. So they're not even leaving crumbs, going back to that cake analogy, Nathan. They're not even leaving crumbs anywhere on the table right now. Absolutely cleaning house is Wahoo Lacole. Can Catherine Fuhrer take another spot here? That would be beyond imaginable. Not for them.
It really
Not for
would.
them.
It would. I mean, WLC would be stacking that final race and stacking their points at this point. Now, Dave, I do want to speak to how attentive Verhaeren was, as well as the motivation that I see coming from that rider throughout this season. She came onto the Wrap this past summer for the podcast to talk about how she made the transfer over from BMX to this esports specific. And Dave, she has been showing up week in and week out when it comes to this esports world and making moves like this. And you're seeing her tactical mindset. You're seeing the aggressiveness of her mind to want to be in each one of the moves at the perfect places. And when you talk about that chess match, a lot of times, Dave, she knows how to place her pieces and make that gotcha move at the right times. As an individual, she showed up, made the right move when it needed to be there. She's also obviously put in the work to be able to make that kind of a move and out sprint at the end. Some of the best riders here that we see. It just really, Dave, that's a rider to be watching out for as we see these gladiators rise to the top of the sport. Now we got an attack, though, coming through from Keller to try and take this early on. Mountain now, the cookies are definitely fueling this one, Dave. 10 watts per kilogram. Will she stay away for Ionian?
I mean, this is huge. I mean, as much as we're lauding the efforts from Wahoo Lacole, Ionian, if they can do the same thing here, it's basically tit for tat. That would be equal play. I mean, the it's going to be 57, 56, 55 points available here, which is really close to what we just saw from Wahoo Lacole, and they are very close. So Lindsay Cassie, though, is going to take that 3rd spot, remembering that one of them went to Ionian earlier. So Ionian trying to level the score here, and here come the other teams that want to be part of that conversation. Back to you, Nathan.
Yeah, here Monley Color fading. Vicky Whitelaw fading as well. It might be right to the line. Embring's going to take the 2nd place. Will Vicky Whitelaw be able to hold on? No, it's going to be Movistar with Mika Soderstrom coming over the top, actually, but it's right to the line. SZ with Embring, Mika Soderstrom. That's going to be Lindsay Cassie, Anna Embring, and Mika Soderstrom go through to the next, and they're scoring 54, 52, and 50. But now, Dave, there's a break here. How split up is that field behind? We only started with 36, have been now taken out of the race and qualified to the next. So there's only 24 riders left, and we're looking at what? 8 in front of us right now that can form a breakaway. You've only got 12 chasing or something like this. Here's Los Adagis now sitting in 2nd place out on and saying, look, we've got things splitting. There's not a lot of riders. The peloton is just a bunch of solo packs at this point, probably, Dave. Will they commit to this? It's 10 seconds up the road.
And there's only 6 spots left in the final. 3 of those now have gone to Wahoo Lacole. One of them, so Ionian, unfortunately, they made a big play, came up empty-handed in that 2nd sprint. I mean, it could have gone either way, no doubt about it. This is what gambling out here is all about. I mean, Kolchinski's got to be starting to feel a little bit of pressure herself right now. Is again only 6 spots left. This is a game of musical chairs, and the circle's getting smaller and smaller. This group might ride away with it. How about Liz Van Houweling stepping stepping up out here as she's really proving the heart that she's got. Simnik, Kolchinski, Adahist, a very strong group of 4. Again, there are 6 spots still up the road. Libby Hill and 23rd Street. And I mean, obviously, Libby Hill, Nathan, plays into the hands of these 4 right now, but it's going to come back.
It is going to come back. I was wondering perhaps behind there whether or not it was strung out. It looks like we might have lost a couple of riders here. Liz Van Houweling's still in here, unable to make that qualification. I wonder if she's really saving something for Libby Hill. Now, you saw behind there is a chase pack, though, Dave. There is some separation, as you can see. So this is a main group that doesn't necessarily want to get caught, but you don't want to risk too much at the front as well. You start putting in too much work, and you're wasting your matches for Libby Hill because you have one of the hardest 1-minute climbs you could possibly have in the world of esports. That is the cobbled Libby Hill punch in the face. And that's got 3 spots at the top of it, Dave. I think a lot of them are thinking about saving matches rather than burning them and allowing perhaps this pack to come back.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be honest. This is absolutely this next sector that they're going to. It feels like it goes on for quite a while, and you can't win the top 3 spots here, but you certainly can put yourself in trouble, and that's why you see this happening right now. Things getting conservative here. This is a really well-known race course. When you look at the courses that racers enjoy racing on for many years, Richmond also goes back. It was early in the archives of Zwift. So there's a lot of experience has been learned on this course, and Libby Hill is as infamous as they get. You feel like you're racing virtually through wet cement, like your wheels are 2 inches deep into nearly dry cement when you're on that climb. It's brutal. Nathan, back to you, because this is going to be quite a battle for those 3 spots. 23rd Street coming up for the finale. A lot going on. Here comes some more riders to rejoin as they sit up in the front group.
Yeah, and the catch is made here, Dave. And this is what's happening is that it's really interesting. Mary Wilkinson, Monali Keller, Katie Loker, Vicky Whitelaw. These are the names, Dave, that were in that group behind that just made the Marion Lawson, Dave. I mean, these are some huge names that I think we're just caught out by the reality of that sprint being so incredibly high powered and not as many riders to maybe hang on to and create that long dragon tail a lot of times that you see that allows the riders to maybe find a little bit of a pocket to sit in and trust that the packs can come back together. And I think some of these riders, these top riders, thought, this will probably come back together and I can trust. And then next thing you know, there was a group off the front with some of the strongest esports riders in the world, and they were at risk. Luckily, they got back on terms, Dave. We've got our top 21. Katie Loker's here again now. She was at risk a moment ago. We were seeing Linda Klein, I think, was out of it. There was a couple here, Dave, that I was like, uh-oh, this is trouble. Now, there's only 6 spots left at this point, and you've got 21 of the fastest women in the world of esports right now about to climb this. And I have a feeling, Dave, this is going to be fairly all in just a moment here from every one of them. I'm not sure that at this point you're thinking too much about how to play cards other than I have to get a spot, and it's every woman for herself to the top of this climb.
Yeah, I think you can basically turn your brain off when you hit the bottom of Libby Hill, Nathan. As 23rd Street, the final opportunity to transfer into the 3rd and final race here is only 1.2K after that Libby Hill sprint has concluded. So it all happens in this flurry out there. It's very, very fast at the end. So let's take a look now at this group. These are, it's surprisingly large group, to tell you the truth. After everything that they've been through here, it's been a tactical slugfest, no doubt. This is another rider who's been impressive, really showing that she's ready to be at this level as the Canadian Marion Lawson, a new rider to the Virginia Blue Ridge 2024 team. Another reinforcement that has really stepped up.
100%. This is definitely a athlete that they have developed into one of the top esports riders. Now we got a burrito power up being used here very early, actually, coming from Toyota Cryo RDT. Interesting to see Linda Klein up there toward the right hand side of the screen. Now Lawson staying steady here up toward the front, just trying to find the draft, but the burrito power ups making things difficult on them. Kristen Kolchinski, someone who's not made it through, has been really, I think, gambling on these final climbs. This is both going to be about prowess when it comes to the power, but also tactical, Dave, because the reality of the roll into 23rd Street can completely ruin your efforts if you do not do it correctly. If anyone's not able to qualify here, maybe the continuance over the top is what it's going to be about. We're about to start. There's the pylon on the right, Dave. The Queen of the Mountains segment has officially begun.
So you move into this segment, and that is where you have to brace yourself. They're going to slam this hard right turn, and that is where it will go completely ballistic. Positioning right now, Nathan, does matter. You really want to be in that pocket that you talk about where you're not on the front, but you're close to it, because you want to be able to follow that launch, and you can see that's exactly Los Adagi's getting up onto the wheel of Kolchinski. And there you go. There's your moment. Kolchinski has hit out with authority. Ladies and gentlemen, it is on like Donkey Kong from here on in. Nathan, back to you as we hit the bottom of Libby Hill.
Risky move here, I think, here from Kolchinski to go this early, but she says, I just want to commit to something, break this apart. I don't want anybody going. Here comes Los over the top with the speed there through that main section. As soon as you hit the cobbles, this is the moments. The right-hand turn, tons of speed into this steepest gradient, 13% gradient. Adagis is showing why she wears rainbow at this point. Perfect tactic, the roll-through speed into the 13%er, bam, takes it down, big points, and goes through. Catherine for Simnik, Ehrlich now coming through, Van Houweling's there, Kolchinski, but this isn't it yet, Dave. Nathan. Now we've got a setup here where there's riders off the front, Dave, that need to get together and try and figure out how to get the next three. Go ahead, Dave.
Hula Cool just put their entire team into the final. They just advanced all 5 riders into the final. What a moment that was. Unbelievable.
Kolchinski over the top, though, Dave. Kolchinski over the top. So this is the moment for her, whether or not she gets in. Van Houweling is right here on her wheel as well. It's a battle for 3. Ehrlich is here now off the front, trying to play the bait. But, Dave, there's so much speed on the downhill amongst a group. Let's see here. Who do we have? Larson, Kolchinski, Van Houweling, Harris on the chase, but Ehrlich is off the front, and she's got a solid 4 seconds. I think we've got a little frozen on time there. We'll see if we can update in just a second. She's got this climb in front of her, and that is what keeps her either in or out, but she's got a hard charging pack about to pounce this climb. This is it, Dave.
All right, yeah, don't worry about that number. It's more like 100 meters at this point. Is that arch right there is what Emily Ehrlich is fighting to get to, and she will claim one of those spots in the final. Can her teammate come up from behind her? Kristen Kolchinski is going to be looking to put it 2 of the Virginia Blue Ridge 2024 riders. So let's take a look behind and see what's going on. Ehrlich is going to be on the front, and there they are. Kolchinski's coming, Nathan.
Kolchinski right to the line. It's going to be between her and, oh my goodness, here comes Movistar. Will Cecile come over the top? It's going to come right to the line between these 3, and it's going to be Cecile for Movistar. Van Houweling, Kolchinski just gets in, and the rest are out, Dave. But there's still points to be scored for getting across. Oh my goodness, Dave, that was nail biter right to the line. And a little bit of a heartbreak, but also you got to do it. Like we said, it's every woman for herself at that point to grab whatever you can. Talk about the Movistar rider, though, Dave. The roll through her speed, we said how important that would be to time that. And it looks like she did exactly that. Waited until the perfect moment to pounce and roll through. Laying them here, though, this is the points that came through. We're talking all the way back. Think all the way back, everybody, to that first sprint that you saw on Monument Avenue, and that was at 60 points, Dave. Take it away. This is your top 12.
Well, this was what you'd call a command performance, ladies and gentlemen. It's not over. We still have another race, but Wahoo Lacole advances their entire team into the final. 5 of the 12 riders coming from Wahoo Lacole. We'll start with Zoe Langham, who wins the first sprint out there today. It's going to be Ariel Verhaeren. So one of 2 Aeonian riders, because the Los Adages, you see the world champions jersey there at place 7. That is an Aeonian team rider. So Ariel Verhaeren for second. Lizzie Brooke took the final spot in that first sprint there. And then that was where Lindsay Cassie really showed some heart. She ends up holding on to win the second sprint today. So these really are batches of 3 that we're looking at. His second sprint was Cassie, Embring, and Soderstrom. Then we moved over to Libby Hill. It got spicy. ladies and gentlemen. So, two things noteworthy here. Obviously, Aeonian puts the world champion and transfers her into the final, but this was when they stacked the deck with Führer and Simnich taking the fourth and fifth spots for Wahalukol in the final. That Movistar gets their second rider up there with Cecile. Kolchinski, a bit of a surprise that it came down to this. And then a surprise, but not a surprise, as Liz Van Houweling, who is on a bit of a comeback right now, strong enough to make it into the final, taking one of those spots on 23rd Street. That is a fascinating, fascinating way to get there. So the 60 or 55 riders we started with went down to 30. Those 30 are now down to 12, Nathan, that will be taking the start in our third World Championship course in Innsbruck.
What a move at the end, Dave. I really, uh, Sonia Cecile, that was crazy. The speed that she came through with there, and there was something that I was wondering about coming into that final 23rd Street climb. If it was there was a tension there between, is it going to be this breakaway off of the top of Libby? Emily Ehrlich was right there. She had committed completely to going, okay, I didn't grab it over the top of Libby, but I've got this gap now. And she went all in on it, tried to hold on over the top. But Dave, that second half or last quarter of the climb, being able to carry that speed through. Whereas Sonia, she most likely, I'm not exactly positive of this, but I have a feeling, I know she wasn't in that group that formed behind Ehrlich that had Kolchinski and Van Houweling there. She was in the third group, I think, Dave. And the reality of the sharp, one of the steepest downhills we know of in Zwift, going into that 23rd Street climb, that is actually where you can gain so much free speed and then have a final punch of a kick over the top. And Sonia, she timed it so well. I would be surprised if she didn't do some sort of a recon to set perfectly up for that, to take those final points across the line and out sprint actually the ones that were up ahead. So amazing job there actually from her. That was one of the best races we've ever seen by far, Dave, when it comes to Richmond. And now it looks like we're going to look at the team current standings when it came to race 2 points. So this is what the points that the teams brought through from race 2. Dave, why don't you have a takeaway away for Wahalukol at the top?
Yeah, a command performance to say the least as they move to the top of the table. Now it was very close after race 1, and now they're doubling the score of the next best team out there is Wahalukol, with Aeonian still in second. Movistar moving into third, however, as they transfer 2 riders into the final. So that's a bit of a change there. Movistar in third, only 10 points behind Aeonian. So that's going to be quite a battle for second place out there, I would think, as Team Swedish Swifters also still right there within striking distance, sitting in fourth, and they've got a couple of riders into the final as well. Virginia Blue Ridge 2024 now sliding into fifth. They'll look to hold on to that spot as Toyota Cryo RDT in sixth. Now, seventh is Sarah Snowpins. Sox, they do have a rider into the final, so that certainly gives them a shot to move up. Sox for Watts in 8th, Coalition Alpha in 9th, Roca Corba 10th, and Beast Mode presented by Rose in 11th. And with no riders in the final, that shouldn't change.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the points as they stand for the teams after 2 of these races in our round number 5. And this is where it's at. What a jump, Dave, as you said, Wahalukol qualifying their entire team. Well, it also pays off in that second race with 260 points, put them at the top at 566. Aeonian in the chase now, but Dave, does that put them in a spot though? How many riders do they have coming through, and what are their hopes here to try and still win on the day? I'm not sure that there's a lot. And then it's Virginia's Blue Ridge now holding on. Maybe it's going to be a battle for that second and third, but again, a big gap with 110 between second and third. Then the battles get a little bit closer here with Team Swedish Swifters at 307 behind Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024. Movistar E-Team coming through in fifth right now at 266 after 2 races. Toyota Cryo RDT, they scored a solid 76 points in that second race at 249. It's Sox for Watts at 182 with 36 points in the second race. Beast Mode presented by Rose at 148 and 8th. Saris, no pins. They still get a rider through as well, as Liz Van Houweling just eking her way into the final race. She may give them a pretty good opportunity to bump up. We'll see how she performs on the climb in Innsbruck. Coalition Alpha in 10th at 140 2. I'm not sure Mary Wilkinson got through or anyone for Coalition. They may be stuck at that 142 for the rest of the day. And it's Roca Cobra Collective at 119 in 11th place. That is the round 5 team standings after 2 races, Dave. And we've got one more in front of us. We're out on that Innsbruck ring or Innsbruck climb, Dave. This one's an interesting one. It's one same one we used in the Continental qualifiers, Dave. We've got those 2 power-ups up front, but it's not so much about those. A couple of feathers, though, that could be used and deployed on the climb early on or later on to try and take the win.
Yeah, it's really, I think, going to be more about who's got the legs or not. That's for sure. You look at the fact that some of these riders would have had more of an opportunity to recover. We go back sort of from sprinting and climbing and sprinting, and it shows you how a diverse skill set is required to be successful in esports these days, without any doubt. The points are different, Nathan. And actually, I was doing some quick math here. If you look at it, if worst case scenario out here for Wahoo Lacole, if they took the final 5 spots, that's still 75 points. It starts at 60, but instead of going down by 1 point, it goes down by 5 points per place. So 60 points for the winner, 55 second, 50 for third. So that being said, 75 points is the worst that they can do, and certainly they'll be leaving with more than 75. So that really leaves there's the slimmest of opportunities for the other squads that have 2 riders out here to collect enough points, because obviously a first and a second is only going to get you 115 points out here. So you can see what a great job Wahoo Lacole has done today. That's why they're on top of the table, Nathan. And today was the day that they proved it was not anything close to a fluke.
100%, Dave. I think the tactical analysis that they brought up front, that they said maybe not all in. Well, I mean, Zoe Langham did take the first Queen of the Mountains. So they went pretty far all in, but they were able to qualify all the riders to that second race. And then from there, they went completely all in and making sure every one of the riders got through to the final, Dave. And that is, I mean, obviously, I think they really put all their chips into that second race. They said, do what we can, reserve the energies that we need to, because it's going to really be about the qualifications in race number 2. And they proved they took 5 out of the 12, Dave. That is a massive share of the points out there, and just absolute domination so far in this second race. I thought Ionian, in that first race, okay, they showed up the race, and they did. And they had some star moments so far. There's obviously they're still in it here. But Dave, I think WLC and the way that they were patient to put most of their energy, put most of their focus in that race number 2 out on Richmond, really shown and is shining with how they're standing at the top right now.
In the men's race last week, and it's great going back and forth between the men and the women racing the same format. It was Toyota Cryo that put 3 riders into the final, and that was surprising for one team to get 3 into the final. To put 5 into the final 12 is really mind-blowing, to tell you the truth. It speaks to Wahoo Lacole, and I hear you talk about community, Nathan, and Aeonian is another team that really does a great job with that, having racing, because as we mentioned on Tuesdays in the ZRL, there's over 20,000 folks racing at all different levels. So if you want to get involved in this, you certainly can. And you don't have to be, sprinting against Zoe Langham out here. You can get in at a level that fits for you. But one thing's for sure is the fact that they have these feeder teams. Aeonian, same thing. These feeder teams that help them, keep the talent, keep people engaged, and keep that community going. It's a big part of the secret sauce to why these teams are where they are, is they have depth. It's not just a mile wide and an inch deep. It's a mile wide and a mile deep when you look at the pipeline of talent that these teams have. And it's really, really fun to watch. That's for sure. I mean, there's multiple riders, Nathan, on that Wahoo Lacole team that come to mind as major talents that aren't even on their starting roster today. That's amazing.
Let's take a quick look at the format of the next race. 100% agree with you, Dave, as well, though, that the depth of the community of a team and the community teams definitely matter for what they're able to pull from. Now, the 12 riders are going through to this Innsbruck Continental Hill Climb course, 12.9 kilometers, 480 meters of climbing. And as I look at this here, Dave, and another analysis point, was Kolchinski just looking to qualify? Will we see a ride away? Or are there other questions starting to come in here, Dave, as we look at this course map, as we get closer to peaking for Worlds, as we get closer to these riders really getting into their form for their Zwift racing season, and there's bigger and bigger prizes on the line? Are we going to see anyone match the prowess of Kristen Kolchinski? We saw in the Continental Qualifiers, we saw her just walk away, Dave. Or is this a situation where the cream is rising to the top and we're going to see a lot of competition on this climb?
That's a really good question. And I think for both of these riders, we talk about the steel sharpens steel. Well, these two, Kolchinski and first rider coming to mind for me is Los Adigis, the reigning world champion. Nathan, this should be quite a throwdown between those two, to tell you the truth. Who else wants to get into that battle? But these are two of the elite amongst the elite. And for them, it'll be a good test at where they're at. I'd say we're around 2 months away from the World Championship, so things are starting to buckle down as far as training goes, regimens and plans, and these athletes will start living a Spartan-like existence, more or less, on their way into the World Championships. But this is a good test to see where you're at right now for both Los and Kristen.
100%. And is there anyone that is looking to challenge them as well? And this is going to be one of those tests, because the format we're throwing at you today, with this being the final one, is going to give you a good feel of what the kind of challenges that are going to be coming at the riders in a world championship type situation. The attrition and being able to perform after so much racing is how we're going to crown a world championship this year. So if anybody is looking to build some confidence, show their mettle against the reality of top riders like our current rating world champion Los Adigis or a Kristen Kolchinski, etc., this is going to be a moment right here on this Innsbruck climb, Dave, where they can really prove themselves.
It's going to be interesting to see how they play their cards, Nathan, on the way to the bottom of the climb. Traditionally, I mean, it's such a small group of 12. It is like racing in a breakaway here. You're not in a huge peloton, so it does open things up a little bit for risk takers. So we're going to just jump right in and let them do the talking with their legs. As Van Houweling is another name. Again, Nathan, I know that Liz hasn't had the easiest last month or so. Just general illness, health stuff. But clearly, 2 months out from the World Championships, making this group of 12 is certainly a good indicator that Liz Van Houweling must be feeling more like Liz Van Houweling these days.
100%. And it's great to see that she has made this group of 12. It's no joke. If you make this group of 12 and you are amongst the elite of the elite women in the world of Zwift racing in the Zwift Grand Prix, Lindsay Cassie going to the front, doing Lindsay Cassie things. And WLC, again, Dave, they've got the numbers. Why not send Lizzie Brooke off the front?
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like it's inevitable that you're going to face a barrage from this squad. Lizzie Brooke, a professional triathlete who was at Ironman this year. She's really been impressive, both in real life and what she's been doing. We've watched her level up a couple of times since COVID hit, and to become now a cornerstone of this Wahoo LaColle team. An animator, a dictator. Lizzie Brooke really can do it all out here. So she's going to open up the account. Kolchinski's going to respond. Lindsay Cassie going to cover. So here we go, Nathan. The big names, regulators mounting up out here.
I'm really surprised, actually, to see the response from Kolchinski. As now Los comes across here. Is the moment Kolchinski went, they said, okay, well, if we let Kristen get off the front, that could be dangerous. Now, they do have a time gap of 2 seconds to Van Houweling. Van Houweling now jumping across as well. Will we get a response here from Langham? Langham pushing 5 watts per kilogram. Yes, that's all going to come back together. But here, Lizzie Brooke is just consistent. She's just going to keep doing 5 watts per kilogram off the front and do her thing, because unless they come within 10, 15 meters of her draft, she can just allow them to play games back here, jump, slow down, and that actually slows them down in total. Their total speed will actually be slower over the same distance completed if they keep playing games like this. And Lizzie Brooke will get an advantage from that. And the other riders, as the Wahoo LaColle just covers them, are wasting effort. So now the question that comes into a mind of someone from Ionian like Los Adigis, like Ariel Verhaeren, is it worth the jump, or will we trust that she comes back?
I think it's a little hard for the other riders to figure out what to do with this, which is exactly what having a 5-rider advantage in a 12-rider group should be. Wahoo Lacole has some of the best direction, the best organization. They don't miss on any of the categories, whether it's organization or materials. And now you're going to be looking here at, let's see if they can put on a clinic, because we've talked a lot of times about when you've got a numerical advantage and a lot of talent in those numbers, you got to be thinking that you want to come in and close out the deal. Lizzie Brooke has now rolled this out to almost 15 seconds. So this becomes a little bit of a poker game right now. Someone's got to start chasing Brooke, because you can't give her too much more time than this, or Lizzie Brooke's just going to ride away and win the race.
16 seconds. Yeah, Dave. Okay, the question for me is how much can she stay away? What kind of climbing can she pull off? I agree with you. If she gets a minute, 30 seconds, that's right on the edge for me. If she gets 30 seconds at the bottom of the climb, will she be able to hold on to that after the amount of effort she has to put in to get that 30 seconds? Now, we saw this, though, from Rugg, right? Timothy Rugg also,
right,
from Wahoo Lacole, did the exact same thing, and we were like, maybe not. And then Rugg just said, I'm going to prove everybody wrong, and walked away and took it down. So are we going to see something like that in just a moment? Is WLC going to go repeat on the same exact course with the same tactic?
So this is a points-based team event. There's still a lot of individual and personal pride that goes on an event like this. And I'm going to think that at some point that's going to kick in for riders like Kulczynski, even though she's never going to get enough points. So they don't exist for her to win the race for her team. She's going to want to win this race outright today. And that's why I think that for Lizzie Brooke, she's doing her teammates a huge favor. Zoe Langham, that's the perfect example, Nathan, and Lindsay Cassie is the other. They can both sit on the chase that that Soderstrom, Los Adegist, they're going to put, and Kristen Kulczynski are going to put together, and they could very well use that to their advantage to win this race outright here today. So they really do kind of have you between a rock and a hard place if you're not on that Wahoo Lacole team. But we'll see who can step up and maybe crack the code on how to beat them out here. As this race, the dynamic has changed dramatically with what Wahoo Lacole has done out here today.
Yeah, and really the kind of attitude you have to have to try and break them is you're just the sledgehammer coming up against the foundation that is Wahoo Lacole, that you're that strong, that you're that talented, that you've got that kind of heart that you can break the rest of them. And someone's going to have to do that if they're going to be able to take on the tactics as well as just the level that Wahoo Lacole are going to be bringing here today. Brooke here off the front, as you can see, a lot of feather power-ups. They will get another one over the top of this Queen of the Mountain here on the leg snapper. Here's where the questions are going to start to get answered. You've seen them at 2-3 watts per kilogram over the top here, for quite a while. Brooke now coming over the top into that super tuck, over 57 kilometers per hour. The pack is going to travel faster than her over the top. The question to me is, will anybody put any effort in, and how much time will come back here? If it gets within 20 seconds, that puts, I think it will. Then Brooke, the question is, will she be able to continue on and gain up to that minute that we had talked about? I think it's possible at this point if everybody just watches, but again, Dave, like you said, they're in a tough spot, and somebody has got to be trusting that their climb can pull back up to a minute on the talents of Lizzie Brooke.
Boy, is it hard to lead that chase when you've got 3 Wahoo Lacole riders sitting on your wheel. That's really the huge advantage that you've got when you're Lizzie. It looks like they're going to lock this down. I think we said 30 seconds was a pretty reasonable point where they're going to lock the leash and start trying to rein her back in. And we've hit that moment. I wouldn't expect to see that number go up much higher than it is now, as we'll start to see how deep Lizzie Brooke is going to dig, who's going to lead the chase up right here, as still controlling things at the front. Some soft pedaling there as Wahoo Lacole gets to the front, just kind of sits up. So they're still doing a good job right now controlling the tempo out here.
Now, Dave, are they racing for second? Are they saying Wahoo Lacole have won on the estimate? Like, have they done some math? And it's like, look,
I
Wahoo
don't think so.
Lacole. No, I'm just
I
wondering,
don't
like,
think so.
if there's a little bit of a, hey, Wahoo Lacole, they have the control here. Maybe not racing for a second necessarily, as in, no, someone still wants to win outright on the day, but how much racing the other teams that are in the pack with you right now might be a higher priority for some of these racers right now.
I think this is a good microcosm of actually how endurance bike racing works, whether it's in real life or on Zwift. Because here, the real story here is riders like Van Houweling, Soderstrom, Kolchinski aren't taking the bait. And that effectively is what Lizzie Brook is. I mean, it's a tactic. It's well known, and it works. That's the reason it's a tactic. Tactics don't always work, however. And a part of a tactic working is getting buy-in on a false premise. And that premise would be that Lizzie Brook is the strongest rider and she's going to ride away with this race and you need to chase her right now. If you don't accept that and say, oh, I don't know, I don't believe that, I'm going to sit back, save my energy, and wait to help with other people doing that work, and then I will go for the kill. I think that's the mental element that you've got. Although it's gone up to 45 seconds. So all of a sudden, my assessment that 30 seconds was going to be the high water mark is completely wrong. Now you start thinking maybe they trusted too much in the fact that they'd bring Lizzie Brook back. So all of a sudden, Nathan, in about 2 minutes, it looks like maybe you went from being not so right to absolutely right. I love this
Quick
sport.
one here, Dave, though. What I'm seeing I'm seeing some organization, maybe even right? Like, even in real life, you might get a couple of teams that are not necessarily not fellow teammates, but Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024, Aeonian, as well as I just saw a little bit of Movistar, they might have been saying to each other, hey, let's at least have some roll through here. I saw them kind of almost communicate through their wattages together at the front for a moment there with 4 watts per kilogram, 5 watts per kilogram, just for a moment, but now it's backed right on off again. Interesting to see. Now, Dave, I want to speak to the energy output, though, of Lizzie Brook so far. At 8 minutes into this race, she had put out 4.9 watts per kilogram at 327 watt average, okay, at 166 beats per minute. The rest of this field, not one of them is over 3.6. The lowest is actually at 3.0. So there is a massive energy difference expenditure for this 57 seconds. My question is whether or not those reserves are going to pay off in just a moment.
That's the question, isn't it, Nathan? The age-old question. At some point, you have to pay the piper. Does Lizzie have to pay before or after the finish line? That's going to be the question out here. But man, she's definitely paid a huge price to get this advantage. Was it enough? It's going to be fat because when they start closing this gap, it'll come down amazingly quickly. It's like watching a snowball melting in a hot summer parking lot. But it's still not melting. Right now, she's holding on. She's making bigger numbers still. So we haven't flipped the script yet. It's gone to 107. This is going to be interesting. I mean, get your money down. Do they catch Lizzie Brook or not?
That's a lot of time. Like,
it sure is.
I mean, the difference here, we're talking, this is usually what, a 17 minute-ish climber maybe for the women? Maybe 16, something like that. I'm not exactly positive. Don't quote me exactly. I don't have the exact, I can probably find those numbers actually for us. But I don't know if you can, in that amount of time, a minute 11, this is a massive gap that they've let go here, Dave.
Watch this.
In a moment, the bells are going to go off, Dave, and maybe the alarms. We'll see.
Yeah, and it's right any second now. As you can see, Lizzie Brook is now really fighting to hold on to the mid-4s, like around 4.6, 4.7 watts per kilo, and it's slowly but surely ramping up in that chase group here. And this is the moment that the chase is now going harder than the front of the race. But it went all the way out to 118. And actually, Lizzie Brook, the chase is kind of, hit and miss right now. But now that you see Lindsay Cassie and Zoe Langham, they're teammates of Lizzie Brook. They're sitting up near the front. They're still just waiting for other riders to chase, Nathan. So they're loving the situation. This could very well go down as another Wahoo Nicole taking 3 of the top 4 spots out here, the way things are playing out right now. The other teams have really got to activate the chase at this point.
One of the best all-time climbs on this reverse Innsbruck climb. 1528 at 5.6 watts per kilogram is what Kristen Kolchinski has done at a 1528. We'll see if she can do better that, repeat something close to that as well. This is going to have to be, and she did that in December 4th, actually, of 2021, a little bit over a year ago. Are we showing up with a stronger Kristen Kolchinski right now with that kind of effort? Will we see something better than that, even after everything we've seen from her so far? Or will there be another star that rises to the top here amongst this pack? The question now is at a minute 20 and it starts to come down. That's the first time we've seen it come down, Dave, by a second rather than go out by a second in the entirety of this race as Kolchinski takes over at the front. But, Dave, it doesn't look like it's a bottom to top. They're still kind of holding the cards back a little bit at 5-1, I think, because the average is definitely not going to be 5-6 with this at this point.
All due respect, look at Wahoo Nicole just sitting on, allowing their teammate. And Lizzie Brooke is not done. She's throwing more at it. So a very motivated Lizzie Brooke right now, continuing to crush on the front. They're still not really bringing this gap back as it's down to 5K to go. It's a long way to go. Starting to look better and better for Lizzie Brooke out here, and her teammates are just sitting on Kolchinski right now.
100% here. As you can see, Kolchinski really going to need to be the one that takes up the chase, it looks like, as they just sit on following each and every move. It puts her in such a difficult position as we're not on the steeper slopes just as of yet. They have brought back 5 seconds now, it looks like. Brooke at 4.4 watts per kilogram here now. But, Dave, there's not a lot of landscape to work with, and only a 15 to 16-minute climb. The moves have to start coming if they're going to bring this back, and this may start to be a race for second place.
Yeah, and you wonder, I mean, I think that reality is extremely close to having to be accepted by this group. If they don't get this down in the next, I would say the next half K to under a minute, I think they're going to run out of real estate. You can't underestimate Lizzie Brooke. Sure, it was a bold, aggressive move, but she can back it up. They definitely didn't show quite enough respect, in my opinion, to the talent that Lizzie Brooke has. And again, this is the way the game plays, because the concern was obviously that you're just going to be setting up her teammates. This is a tactical masterpiece that we've witnessed here today from Wahoo Nicole. And if they can close this one out again with 3 riders in the top 5, I would say that it goes down as one of the best team performances that we've seen in the history of racing in esports on Zwift. So Lizzie Brooke still rolling on the front. Chase not closing it down, Nathan. Not closing it down at all.
Yeah, and I think that these ladies are going to start thinking about who is next to them, and we'll start to see the fireworks in this pack when they start thinking about how they break the riders that are next to them and not thinking about how they're going to bring Lizzie Brooke back any longer. If that ends up being a carrot to chase later on, fine, but it's not the main cake at this point. They're really thinking about where am I going to end up amongst these who are here that I'm riding with. Cassie now taking over at the front. Here's the thing, though, Dave. It kind of puts a little bit of a chain on the WLC riders. They don't really they don't want to ramp anything up until the goes from it's too far out to chase any longer. It's not going to be brought back, and at that point they can release the hounds. But at this point, WLC, they're not going to do anything.
No, nor should they. I mean, they're riding with their. We've talked about how the directors in this racing esports make a big difference. Well, Wahoo Nicole's been regarded, I would say, as leaders in that area. And also the motivation you see amongst the men's and women's teams cheering for each other has been exceptional. This team is not missing on any cylinders out here. Lizzie Brooke is very likely going to win this final race now. Her teammates are absolutely loving this performance. And I think this is a bit of a statement coming from Lizzie Brooke, to tell you the truth. She's showing herself to be, Lizzie Brooke is not afraid. I love it.
Yeah, it is one thing that's definitely shown today when it comes to WLC is that they're willing to take these risks and they make them at the exact right times and the right ways, and it's paying off now. As Brooke here off the front, 122. Kolchinski now taking over. Here we go. Now we're getting into the steeper sections of the course, and she's going to start to turn the screws. 5.8, 5.7 watts per kilogram. Lindsay Cassie following, knowing exactly wants to look at WLC. 1, 2, 3, lined up behind KK at this point, knowing where to be. Lois now coming through at 6.7. Embring struggling to hang on. Mika Soderstrom is still there. Not always known for being the absolute best climber. Definitely a good kick, 1 minute puncher out there. So I have a feeling that perhaps we might start to see a few of these riders fall off the back. Van Halen off the back. Captain Freer obviously falling off the back there as well. My question is, where is Verhaeren going to show up? How is the Aeonian rider as well as Lois going to show up? And who another question that starts to come to mind, Dave, who amongst that crew between Adegeest and Verhaeren is the stronger on Ionian starts to come to mind as Van Halen now struggling, sitting in 11th place now as she fades from this pack.
Well, we've certainly been impressed by Ariel Verhaeren without any doubt, but with all due respect, the world champion has proved it, and I'm going to tip her as the rider to watch from Aeonian, but that's a really good question, Nathan. And Ariel Verhaeren deserves, as I said, a lot of credit for what she's been doing in sort of a second act in her cycling career. She was a BMX Olympian for the United States back in 2012. So that's Ariel that we're looking at, tagged onto the back of this group. Lizzie Brooke up the road, 1 minute, 13 seconds the advantage. And it is going to be a second race out here, and it's going to be a slugfest, no question about that, Nathan. In a lot of ways, I mean, it was that ship had sailed when you talk about Walu Cole winning the outright title here today. What Lizzie Brooke did was tactically brilliant, no doubt, but it wasn't maybe genius level. It was just they backed up the talent that they have. Now the question becomes who can take second place out here in my mind, because right now Wahoo Cole's looking to take at least two of the top three spots. Can they go 1-2? Yes, they certainly can.
First time we've seen the time come down in any significant manner there. 10 seconds brought back just now. Brooke now ramps it up to 5.1 for a moment there. Cassie taking over at the front again. Mika, look at this effort from her. Just, out of reach a moment there. Now we see a further power up from Brooke. 6.3 as she gets into some steeper stuff up the road that we don't have in picture. But now Kolchinski at 5.9 looking to extend this breakaway, or not break, but to break more of these riders off so that she can perhaps easily take that second place position. Brooke, here is your current leader out on course as she continues on. 5.1 watts per kilogram and that 10% grading currently. 3.3 kilometers to the line. 111 gap this point. Lindsay Cassie to the front in second place. As you can see, the watts per kilogram on the right-hand side as it backs right on down. It's most likely because they're hitting flatter sections of the course. And they all start watching each other again. A little bit of hand-holding going on as they start to think about the next attacks that may come as they look forward to a minute up the road and 10% gradients that Brooke is currently on. Now, Dave, you brought up you tipped your hat toward Lois Adegeest, the current reigning world championship. 100%, one of the strongest riders, and we've seen in recent weeks, especially today, the resurgence of how strong she actually really, really is, and how she has earned that kit. And having on the same team, though, a fighter, someone as hungry for the esports as Ariel Verhaeren, the word badger came to my head for some reason. The moment you started talking about maybe a little bit of that tension that may be there, or at least I might have brought up, between that Aeonian and who is the strongest on that team, because I think Verhaeren, is out here to prove that she can win that world championship as well.
Well, that's what you want, isn't it? Riders who are motivated and hungry, and these are the attributes that really separate the greats from the also-rans out here. Desire, and that's what we're looking at right now. That's Anna Embring that we're with, the Swedish rider who's digging extremely deep to stay in this group as they're pushing. She goes up and out of the saddle. That's what you call giving it everything. A remarkably low heart rate, to tell you the truth, for somebody making an effort like this. So Embring staying in. This is the chase group that we're looking at as Lizzie Brooke continues to ride over a minute and 20 seconds ahead of this group. And her teammates are looking to sweep this final podium here with Langham and Cassie, who could quite possibly do that. No question. Still two Aeonian riders as they're both there. Very interesting discussion, Nathan, with Verhaaren and Adegis, as they are literally side by side right now. Kristen Kolchinski, certainly one of the wild cards out here. Certainly the silver medal is not beyond her reach, and a lot of folks will be cheering. But you can see that her heart rate significantly higher, sitting just under 180 right now for Kolchinski here as she sits comfortably in this group, expecting something to come from her, Nathan, as we're inside of 2.5K to go. Lizzie Brooks' advantage, I'll admit, I was decidedly wrong. I never saw it going up this high, but it did turn into a tactical race behind her. But credit where it's due, Lizzie Brooke, the platinum standard out here today.
100%. 123 has gone out again as the riders watch each other. And Dave, this also needs to speak to, they've raced twice, right? There's already been so much effort put out on here. And this really starts to show what kind of aerobic capacity these riders have as well. How much that they've actually kept in the stores. You know, this new formats of esports racing, it really taxes the riders in a new kind of way. We're not just talking about a quick 30 to 40 minute effort with a sprint at the end. At this point, Dave, they're sprinting all out to a line at, you know, some of these riders 6-7 times with a couple of climbs in there already. So really has changed things up, and it really goes to show the talents when it comes to a well-rounded cycling athlete.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, Nathan, it's a good 3 hours on the bike kind of day for these athletes. Even though the races aren't particularly long in distance, the way the day sets up, it's an endeavor without any doubt. And I mean, at this point now, Lizzie Brooke has probably been on her smart trainer for 3 hours at this point. And she's closing out the deal right now with authority here as she goes inside of 2K to go. So they're not going to be bringing her back. And Nathan, it looks like the barrage is about to come from the Wahoo Lacole team. They're going to be charging into the final couple K here.
Yeah, and one thing to also speak to as to why Lizzie also might have such an amazing performance amongst this crew here is a lot of these riders also being esports specific, some of them, and perhaps just looking to have that traditional more kick to a line. Brooke, being an Iron Woman, winning those events, she's used to this kind of 5-hour day, more 8-hour day on the, but you know, she's got that aerobic capacity to work with. And so she says, look, I'll give a good kick off the front, go over threshold for a little while, and then settle into my threshold, the tempo over the top of this climb. And I've got the energy stores for that. I've built that up over time. She has the experience 3 hours into an event to really throw something down in a way that maybe some of these other riders are just waiting for that kick because that's all they got left.
Yeah, if there's ever a rider who's comfortable being uncomfortable, it would be Lizzie Brooke. I mean, she has an amazing capacity for paying perfect woman for the job, and she 100% delivered. Nathan, she's actually padding her advantage right now, which is, I think, pretty much unimaginable. But this is why you have to let the racers race as well. It definitely got tactical back in this group with so many quality climbers, and the fact that you've got Lizzie Brooke up the road. Nobody wanted to light their rocket only to have it used against them. And now you start to feel the tension increasing in this group. The world champ is in the house, and Los Adegis here now on the front. Every time she makes a move, you can see it's being covered immaculately by the Wahoo Lacole team. Lindsay Cassie and her teammate there, Zoe Langham, along with Laura Simonich, have been phenomenal out here today, riding the perfect team race. Let's see if anybody can disrupt that here now and take the silver medal out of this group. Because, Nathan, that's really what we're talking about here at 1.5K to go. A very unique race for silver. Cassie
Released
goes.
there. They released the hounds here, Dave. Cassie moved 6.3 watts per kilogram. Adegis now on the counter. uses her feather power up very early, but at a 15% gradient, it's worth the energy at this point. Lindsay Cassie now kicks again at 7.2 watts per kilogram. Adagi still closing the gap down here. Langham now responding, and now the gloves are coming off, Dave. At this point, they know that Brooke cannot be caught, and so they said, let's go ahead and see what we can make happen for the rest of the podium. Will it be a sweep for first, second, and third for WLC? Adagis now looking to try and claw back that second place that Lindsay Cassie is trying to steal away.
Watch as these women go absolutely ballistic. It's an OSS situation. Only the strong survive. How big is that gap for Lizzie Brooke going to be at the finish line, as we've just watched 30 seconds evaporate like a hot puddle in the sun? So Lizzie Brooke is still going to have to fight. It's incredible how steep this finish is. So it's not over till it's over. Lindsay Cassie is now taking on second place, but right behind her is the world champ Los Adagis. Then Zoe Langham, followed by Ariel Van Haren. So Aeonian is looking to hold on to a strong second place out here, making the final race of the Grand Prix even more interesting. But right now, Lizzie Brooke, 55 seconds over her teammate. Can Adagis get up to that wheel of Lindsay Cassie here, Nathan?
It's getting close here, right to the line. Looks like Los is going to have to settle. And over the top, Zoe Langham here on the wheel. Might be able to sit on Los's wheel here. Kolchinski back at 115, back from the leader at this point, fighting with Semnek and Valharin, actually. So there's a 15-second gap to these three. But actually, Lindsay Cassie is on her own at this point with 8 seconds back to Langham. Langham looking to break Adagis, and there's a feather power up to put the nail in that coffin. Brooke now coming to the line. In just a moment, she's going to see that Queen of the Mountain banner, the finish line off in the distance. There it is, Dave. And Lizzie Brooke here with 450 meters to go, taking this one down in round 5 of the Zwift Grand Prix, putting WLC's stomping approval of their lead in this series.
Lizzie Brooke, you are the queen of esports today as part of this Wahoo Lacole movement. What a tremendous, tremendous team. And it all came together here today in the Grand Prix. Cassie going to hold on and take the silver medal, I believe. A few more pedal strokes, and that should become done and dusted. Zoe Langham, Nathan, she's going to make it a 1, 2, 3. That really sums up the day if Langham can hold on for that final podium spot here. They put their entire team, 5 riders, into the batch of 12 that took the start and ended up taking gold, silver, and bronze. What a day for Wahoo Lacole.
Huge day for Wahoo Lacole as Langham throws down her feather power up, and that's going to be that 1, 2, and 3 over the top of the Innsbruck climb, showing that they've not only got the prowess when it comes to the sprints on these courses and in the Zwift Grand Prix, but they've also got the climbing legs to back it up. Now, a reigning world champion coming on through in 4th place. She does drop her teammate. Verhaeren now getting caught, though, at the line. Oh, Dave, it's going to be Semnek coming through and still putting them with 4 in the top 5, Dave. What a day for that Wahoo Lacole team. Verhaeren now coming on through for 6. Chris Kolchinski now with 7th place. It looks like a nice little kick to the line ahead of Anna Embring. And that's going to put 2024, Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024 here on their day 4 to finish. Anna Embring now at 5.1 watts per kilogram for the Team Swedish Swifters. It's going to be Movistar E-Team behind there with Mika Soderstrom and Sonia Cecile still making their way up to the top. Solid day here for Mika. Definitely a puncher who was able to climb fairly well for a top 10 here on this Innsbruck climb, though.
Well, World Championships about 2 months away right now. There's still room to gain form. There's still time to lose form out here over the next couple of months. But today is an interesting day on the timeline leading up to the UCI Esports World Championships on Zwift coming up mid-February. I know that that's a date that's been circled for almost all of the riders in our field here. Nathan, that's the big one.
100%, and that is part of why we are doing the Zwift Grand Prix with these new formats, specifically to see how to crown the champions, and also give the riders a preview, right? You don't want to just throw a whole new format at riders right before a world championships, and this is really giving them a taste of what it is going to be like, as well as giving us an idea of what riders to watch out for from a viewing perspective. Dave, you come in and you want a little bit of framework to work with, right? A little bit of who's who, what's the talents to watch out for, and who to root for when it does come to a battle like a world championship that we will see in February. Liz Van Houweling now making her way to the line. Nice little kick at 6.7 watts per kilogram, 317 back from the winner and taking 11th on the day. And Dave, nothing to be taken away from any of these riders as they took the course. This is the 12 best on the day, Dave, and they earned these spots. And even taking this 12th with Catherine Freer, it's still a major day. And being a part of the Wahoo Lacole team, there's nothing but celebration currently coming from this rider out of Switzerland right now.
Yeah, I agree. You can take a lot of pride in just making it into this final race and being in that group of 12. That right there is something you can hang your hat on. And I mean, a few of these riders as well. Fuhr is one of them, and I would say Van Houweling another. We haven't hit the ceiling on form yet here for 2022, 2023. There's a plenty of room to grow. Nothing is guaranteed in sport, but you can definitely feel when riders have more potential. And Liz and Catherine are certainly two of those riders that will have a nice opportunity to represent their nation coming up in a couple of months here. So we're going to wrap things up with Wahoo Lacole out here on course. These points have now become inconsequential as far as the team just on a roll out here today. Nathan, I'm looking back through the last few years and thinking that this goes down in my mind on first look as the best team performance that I've seen in ZRL or Zwift Grand Prix. An outright team performance on a single day. I haven't seen better than this.
It's a good question. The only thing that comes to my mind is, did Next Esports dominate in this fashion maybe on a single day in the Premier Division, in the former Premier Division at one point? But that would be the only, on the men's side of things and the women's side of things, I think this is pretty next level. WLC level, right? You can kind of put it in that kind of perspective, I think, between the two. But yeah, I think actually this outdoes even Next Esports. I think on the women's side of things here with WLC, they really have shown that they are a step above in a lot of ways. And they're the ones to watch out for, it seems like, Dave, when it comes to team tactics and team racing in the virtual world.
They're setting the standard.
Now, as we see 100% as Fur now comes across the line.
Yeah, congratulations. That's going to wrap things up for our racers out on course. Dave Toll here with Nathan Guerra. And Nathan, these are how the points sorted out in the race we just watched, the third of three here today. A solo break early from Lizzie Brooke. It had a lot of potential, and it lived up to it. She wins by over 45 seconds out here. It wasn't even close. So Lizzie Brooke, you're our champion in the final race. And then what happened next was all about the team. Wahoo Lacole, as Lindsay Cassie and Zoe Langham end up taking second and third. The world champ was in the house here today, taking fourth place. Simonich in fifth, Verhaaren for sixth, Kocinski in seventh. Not what she was looking for, but no tragedy either. She'll be back to fight another day on another climb. Embring in eighth, Soderstrom in ninth, Cecile for 10th, Van Houweling 11th, and Fur rounds out our top 12. But again, as Nathan said, just making it into this group of 12 was quite an achievement. So, Nathan, what a day. What a day of racing.
Wahoo Lacole come on through in this day of racing for 210 points. It's 80 points to Aeonian for race number 3. Movistar E-Team grabbed 35 points. Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024 30. Team Swiss Swifters and Sarah Snowpins rounding out 25 and 10 respectively for race 3 team points.
Let's take a look at the round 5 points that we're able to access here. And it is Wahoo Lacole, no question about that. After the 3 races, you can see 776 points when you tallied up all 5 riders and all 3 races. It's quite a score. 540 points there for Aeonian, clearly in second. Gets a little bit closer there between third and fourth, but Virginia Blue Ridge ends up holding on in third, with Swedish Swifters in for fourth. Movistar E-Team fifth. Toyota Cryo RDT sixth place today. Sox for Watson seventh. Sarah Snowpins They'll hold on to eighth with Beast Mode presented by Rose squeaking into the top 10 in ninth, Coalition Alpha 10th, and Roca Corva Collective takes 11th place today here in round 5.
Well, that's the round 5 points for today. That's how things played out. Dave, now the question is, how do things stand in the series? We're still looking forward to the finals and whether or not these riders will get into the finals. There's still one more race, one more round to go as well, Dave. So it'll be interesting to see if that's even close. Like what could happen as far as the top 5 teams that can get through.
Yeah, it's not over, Nathan. Part of the beauty of the new point structure that we've got for the Grand Prix is that, yeah, Aeonian's going to need a little bit of luck. It's not completely in their hands, but with the right things happening, they could end up winning the Grand Prix. So while Hula Cole is dominant as they were today, it's still not a done deal yet. That's exactly what we're looking for. But a racer's going to get a little bit of a break now, aren't they, Nathan, as we're going to kind of move into holiday mode, let them enjoy their families, and then we'll be back racing.
Yeah, 100%. You know, round 6, everybody, we will be taking about a little bit over a month off from the Zwift Grand Prix. So these riders, they've been racing a lot. They've been probably peaking a little bit or trying to figure out how to build. You know, when you're an athlete, Dave, and you've got to race and you've got to be in peak fitness, well, you got to rest to race, right? You can't just bury yourself in training. So there's a little bit of a knife's edge you got to play about still building toward a world championship, maybe B races or A- priority races. They might put the ZGP on right now, looking toward world championships. But as they get into January, as we get closer to that, I think this next month, Dave, there's going to be a lot of really hard training, looking toward that late January, February World Championships. So the next ZGP, I have a feeling for Zwift Grand Prix, we're really going to see where people are at when it comes to their main form for this virtual cycling season, for the Zwift season. So round 6, the men's race is going to be on Friday, the 13th of January, actually at 7 p.m. UTC, as well as the women's race is going to be on Friday, the 20th of January at 7 p.m. UTC here at the same place that you've been viewing these. And that is going to be the individual relay. And so we'll have more information on that on the day and all the details about how the individual relay format will be working. So we're looking forward to that, as well as we should be having the points to see where things stand as we head toward that round 6 before this women's racing.
Yeah, they're just making sure that we've got everything correct with that as we wrap up the 5th of 6. As Nathan just put it, they do get a little bit of a break here, but this is an important moment here as the teams will have a chance to see exactly where they stand after a very interesting day of racing. And Nathan, I think for the teams and the directors that we have some data points to work with now on how this racing works. This has been a really interesting season as we came into it with a lot of unknowns. And that was exactly what we wanted, actually, creating some excitement and getting away from predictability and not predetermined outcomes. But the excitement has absolutely leveled up when you look at the Grand Prix racing format here. You go into these races a lot of times with really no idea what's going to happen, which makes it so much more exciting.
One thing that might be, as far as those data points go, Dave, as an athlete, I think a lot of times you start wondering, where do you stand? You know, these kinds of races, you start thinking, where are my weaknesses and where are my strengths right now? What do I have to work on? So over the next month, these, some of them are like, look, I'm right on track. This is exactly where I want to be. And you know, who comes to mind actually is Los Adagi. The last couple of weeks, the last months in the ZGP, I've seen a slow rise in her fitness, her slow rise to the front of these packs, getting on the podiums, taking down the sprints that we saw her take in the first round today, as well as the second race today. I mean, there's been, I think, this coming around toward that peak fitness. And I have a feeling that her form is really going to really start to come on in that January when we get into that round number 6. I'm going to watch out for that. But as you said, the data points, you have them now. You can do some comparisons. You can walk away and say, what happened between me and these other riders? Where did they break me? Where was I able to break them? Where was I able to get the most out of my racing? And where do I got to go and put the right kind of work in? As well as this is a whole new format. maybe some of these riders, there's a surprise. Some of the coaches, there's a surprise to what they have to bring to the table. And now it's time to go to the drawing board a little bit more and say, we got to work on this area because this is something new.
Yeah, well, great. It sounds like they're ready to go with our final table here after the fifth week of racing for the women in the Zwift Grand Prix. We can see where things stand now, and opening up the gap even a little bit more is Wahoo Lacole. So it looks like they are in pretty good shape out here. Back-to-back wins and 3 out of 5 on the season for Wahoo Lacole. Has got Aeonian solidly in second place with 88 points. Interesting to see that symmetry there is 66 points for Virginia Blue Ridge 2024 sitting in third, and then 55 points for Movistar E-Team in fourth. Sox for Watts right now comes sitting in at fifth, and they'll look to hold on to that. It's no guarantee with Sarah Snowpins right there in sixth place on 43 points. It's then Team Swedish Swifters in eighth, Toyota Cryo RDT seventh, Beast Mode presented by Rose ninth, Coalition Alpha in 10th, Roca Corva Collective in 11th. And that is how things stand here as we've got one round left. We'll see the women back in mid-January, Nathan.
Really tight race there, Dave. Wow. That fifth place, there's a fifth place cutoff. Productions was just pointing that out. And that it's the fifth place that gets into the finals, actually, fifth through first. So those are some tight points to be playing for. We'll definitely be watching that in round number 6. Well, we want to give you a big thanks to everybody who's joined in and has been watching and following along with the Zwift Grand Prix. We're watching chat. We're seeing all the socials. We absolutely love the way that you interact with us. Keep tagging us. Keep sharing up the moments. We absolutely love that as well. We'll get involved out in the community, obviously. Now, if you want to do some racing and you like what you're seeing out here, you can do the Race Like a Pro Z Racing Series. Stage 1 is currently going on. Stage 2 is going to be going on as well next week. So the whole Z Racing Series, that's going on, as well as the Zwift Racing League Stage 6 is happening next Tuesday. And if you're not already signed up, well, round 3 is actually going to be coming at us sooner than you would think. And that sign up begins on December 14th. So be on the watch out for those announcements for Zwift Racing League. We are covering that stuff on Zwift Community Live on Tuesdays, myself and Dave. Also, we want to know all about what's going on with the week of Zwift and racing on Zwift. Well, we also have a podcast called The Wrap over on Zwift Community Live that Anna, as well as myself, do put on. So make sure to go ahead and check that out. You can check out all of this, though, for all of your racing stuff on Zwift at zwift.com/racing throughout the entirety of this season. As always, from myself and Dave, thank you so much for joining us for round 5 of the Zwift Grand Prix, and we'll see you out in the worlds of Zwift. And as always, ride on.